Ozi vezimrat Yah Vayehi li lishua. Ozi vezimrat Yah Vayehi li lishua. Ozi vezimrat Yah Vayehi li lishua. Ozi vezimrat Yah Vayehi lishua.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Wherever you're located, we welcome you as part of this community. I've heard over the last few weeks how much it feels like we really are in community as we gather in this kind of strange and modern format. I didn't think it would, but to me it's felt extraordinary to see so many faces and homes and people all together. It feels like we really are one big community, and we're delighted to be with you as we welcome Shabbat. So I'm going to, let's see, I don't know if you can see candles here. I will try.
I will lead us in the blessing in a moment, but I don't have great candles in front of me, so I asked Rabbi Graf to be our candle lighter tonight. Thank you so much. Ah, there they are. We can see them. Beautiful. So we bring the light
everywhere.
Bring the light into our eyes and we bless. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kinshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We're going to continue now. Instead of with Kabbalat Shabbat, we'll alter that a little bit and sing some selections of Hallel. You may be familiar with Hallel as one of the sections of the Seder. You may remember it from Kadesh Urchatz when we sing through all the sections. One of them is Hallel. And Hallel is a collection of 6 psalms that we traditionally sing on the 3 festivals as well as on Hanukkah. And so it seemed like a natural substitution to replace some of the psalms that we sing for Kabbalat Shabbat with some of the psalms from Hallel. We opened with Ozi V'Zimrat Yah itself from I believe 115. And now we'll psalm, but it's certainly in the spirit of Hallel. And then we'll sing B'tzeit Yisrael, which you may remember from our Seder, our Sharet Israel Zoom Seder that we had just last night. So we'll begin with Hallelujah. You don't need to know any words, just the one word of Hallelujah. So Jonathan, take it away. Hallelu, 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 hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelu, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Take it with Jonathan once on the piano. hopefully you now can see Betzeit Yisrael from Psalm 114. We sang through this at our Seder, but it's a lot of Hebrew that's not familiar for everyone, but fortunately the refrain is not very long. It's just the first 2 lines, 7 words in Hebrew. Betzeit Yisrael Mimitzrayim Beit Yaakov Me'am Loez. You know, okay, there we go. All right, so Jonathan will start us off and jump in on the refrain in between the verses whenever it comes around. Betzeit Yisrael Mimitzrayim Beit Yaakov Me'am Loez. Betzeit Yisrael Mimitzrayim Beit Yaakov Me'am Loez. Hayita Yehuda lekodsho Yisrael mamshelotav. Hayam ra'av vayanos hayardein Yisov le'achor. Together on the refrain. Betzeit Yisrael Mimitzrayim Beit Yaakov Me'am Loez. Betzeit Yisrael Mimitzrayim Beit Yaakov Me'am Loez. Harim rakedu che'elim kevaot kivnei tzon. Malechayam kitanus hayardeim tisov le'achor. Together, Betzeit Yisrael Mimitzrayim. Harim tirkedu che'elim kevaot kivnei tzon. Milifnei Adon chuli haaretz, milifnei Elohai Yaakov. Ha'hofchi hatzur hagamayim, chalamish lemayno mayim. Betzeit Yisrael Mimitzrayim Beit Yaakov Me'am Loez. Betzeit Yisrael Mimitzrayim Beit Yaakov Me'am Loez. Now we'll return to Kabbalat Shabbat for Lachadodi. So we'll flip all the way backwards in our prayer books to Kabbalat Shabbat. As we welcome the Sabbath bride, a very, very special Shabbat, of course, because it falls during Passover, so a time of heightened joy, even in the midst of our coronavirus quarantine here. So we're on page 138 for Lachadodi.
That's not.
Likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabla. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad ishmiyanu el hameyuchad Adonai echad uhu shemo echad l'shem ultiferet v'litila lechadodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabla. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nei l'chakim mikor ha'beracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי, אורי, 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 שיר דברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמונה עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה לך דודי, לקראת קלה בת נקבלה. This time we're going to move ahead to the Baruch Hu, which you can find on page 146 here on our digital Siddur, and invite you to rise if you're not already standing, if you're able, and welcome in the evening service with the call to worship, page 146. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Skip ahead now to the Shema, and we contemplate what it means to be one and to be connected and to be united, even in the face of very challenging requirements of separation, but how, you know, unity and connectedness really is a state of mind, because as we all know, Judaism has insisted that God has no form, there is no way to see God or to touch God physically. Connectedness with God really is something that we kind of have to take on faith and then make to happen and create for ourselves through community and through prayer and through tikkun olam. And so that's essentially what we're doing now. We may not be able to hug each other and sit with each other, but the connectedness is real nevertheless. So we take a moment to focus our thoughts. We continue with Shema on page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto. Okay, if you're standing, you may be seated, and we're going to turn it over to Rabbi Abby for some words before Mi Chamocha.
We all know, as I like to mention every week, that Mi Chamocha is our great song of freedom, and of course, we just commemorated it last night at our communal Seder, and many of us the night before at our own family Seders, the moment where the Israelites crossed the sea and arrive in a place of freedom and sing the words of Mi Chamocha. But I was reminded tonight, earlier today, I was doing a little teaching with the teens, and I was reminded that there's an even greater freedom to come, because we've now entered the period of counting the Omer, where every night we have the opportunity to count off one more day that falls between now and Shavuot. And Shavuot, in a way, is our truest festival of freedom, because Shavuot is the day that we commemorate using that freedom to accept upon ourselves the Torah and the values and the rules and the demands on us as members of our community that it presents. So tonight, as we prepare to sing Mi Chamocha, we celebrate not only the freedom that we have gained by coming out of Egypt, but also the freedom that we all, even in our sheltering in place, still very much possess to commit ourselves daily to Torah. So please join us in Mi Chamocha.
Ya la ya la ya la ya la ya la Mi Chamocha Ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nesh nora tehilot osef eleh malchutecha ra'u v'hanecha Bokeyayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Ze'eli anu ve'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Try it with Jonathan once. We continue now with Adonai Sefatai, the words that precede the Amidah, the central prayer of the evening worship. There are a lot of words in the Amidah. Some of them we find meaningful, more meaningful than others. But before we begin the prayer, we ask God to give us whatever words we're most in need of at this time. Page 164 for Adonai Sefatai. Yalla la la la, 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 yalla la la la. Adonai sefatai tiftach, ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Yalla la la la, 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 yalla la la la. Try it once with Jonathan. Continue together with the Amidah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu ve'Imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor veHanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekoneh HaKol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geula livnei bneihem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch Ata Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Ata Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Ata, Rav leHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach u'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim beChesed, Mechaye HaKol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rafeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha bal gevurot, Umido melach, Melech meimit umechayet, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata lehayot hakol, Baruch ata Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kedoshim bechol yom yehalelucha selah, Baruch ata Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. We're going to continue now with the words of the Amidah to guide us, as we also include the words of our own heart. And we'll listen to Jonathan play some reflective music and come back together at the end of the Amidah for Oseh Shalom. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Oh, say shalom, bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, ve'imeru, amen.
Shalom, everybody. So on this Shabbat, I wanted to, let's see, people are moving around. Greg Tolson just went to Jerusalem. Awesome. I don't know how to do these backgrounds yet. I will get hip to that. But right now, I think the Tolsons are at the Shrine of the Book, it looks like. Very cool place to be. So I wanted to talk about the counting of the Omer a little bit tonight, which Rabbi Abby introduced, and Cantor David also said something about. It's very appropriate that everyone's mentioning it, because here we find ourselves in this time of year, which is referred to as the time when we count the Omer. And for many of you, probably this is a term that's not even familiar. What is it, first of all? It's the counting, as Rabbi Abby alluded to, it's the counting of the 49 days between Pesach and Shavuot. And it's traditional that each day we read a prayer and actually count. This is day 1, day 2, day 3, all the way until we arrive at Shavuot. It's never felt particularly relevant to me. It seemed like kind of a burden to have to count these days. I know there are 49 days, okay, it's like, 7 weeks, we'll get there. And so it's never been something that felt very meaningful to me. Some of you who've been in a class with me studying a little bit about the counting of the Omer, or this period during the year, have probably seen my favorite little cartoon, which is called Counting the Homer, as in Homer Simpson. And as unfortunately I don't have it at home with me, it's in my office, but I promise next year I'll pass it out again. And it's basically 49 little squares with the numbers 1 through 49 and the squares up to 50 when Shavuot arrives, with Homer Simpson having his face in each one looking exactly the same, except on day 33, which is known as Lag BaOmer, Lag being the numeric counting with Hebrew letters. And on the 33rd day of the Omer, this kind of somber and introspective time of year becomes a day of celebration. And on that day in this cartoon, Homer Simpson is doing a dance. The other days, Homer is very stoic and serious looking. And so counting the Homer has always been a way that I've thought of this time period, kind of a reminder that the 33rd day was a day of celebration. People who are traditionally observing this time very seriously often don't get married except on the 33rd day or until after the 33rd day of the Omer. Many people don't get haircuts, and traditionally in Israel, people have a lot of bonfires. So the 33rd day is really a time of celebration. But the rest of this Omer period is a time of seriousness and of introspection. And it's always felt important to me that we were between two of the most significant of the 3 really Jewish holidays during the year. Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot being the Shalosh Regalim, when people traditionally went to the temple in Jerusalem. And those days, of course, have been superseded in popularity in our world by Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. But still, the Shalosh Regalim, the 3 holidays of pilgrimage, were the most important. So I understood always why this time period was important, but it's never really felt that meaningful to me. Until over the years, people have come up with creative rituals to observe the counting of the Omer. And one that stayed with me came from my friend and teacher, Rabbi Yael Rydberg, who's in Southern California. And several years ago, when she was experiencing treatment for her first round of breast cancer, she wrote a beautiful ritual about sitting and counting the drips that were coming into her arm, sitting and counting the minutes, sitting and counting the fear. And all of a sudden, this idea of counting the Omer felt a little bit more real to me when we're talking about counting something very small and specific. Of course, we count 525,600 minutes every year. What do we make up a year with? All of those individual moments. But the counting of the Omer has kind of taken on in Judaism one of 2 directions, I would say, by and large. It's either been kind of Kabbalistic and mystical, and so people who have that kind of leaning have found different meanings in each of the weeks and in each of the sefirot, the values to connect to in Kabbalah. or it's been halachic. People are obligated to count, and so they count without necessarily maybe attaching meaning or maybe not, but fulfilling the mitzvah of counting day by day. And somehow this year, the counting of the Omer, just like many other parts of Pesach and Leviticus and the things that we're experiencing in our Jewish calendar, feel extremely, extremely relevant. I saw just a minute ago as I'm learning how to use Zoom that Ellen Newman wrote a really lovely comment to everyone here. And she said, Shabbat Shalom, I've actually been wondering about the metaphor of counting the Omer and our counting the days until our sheltering in place can be relaxed. It seems like the dates might coincide. It's true. No haircuts. Imagine that, said David Newman. Yes. So it does feel like it kind of coincides in a way. And hopefully around the time of Shavuot, we will be liberated from this. But as we find ourselves here, I find myself counting new things in these days, counting the weeks in a way I never have before, counting the minutes until we can go outside, the minutes until another adult comes home to my house. When Ari was born, Rabbi Raphael said to me, the days are long, but the years are short. I didn't really understand at that time what that meant. But as I've been sheltering in place and looking back through my camera roll of pictures on my phone, I realized that even in the 5.5, almost 6 years of her life, which has not been that long, I don't remember so much from the beginning. The years are flying by, even though the days feel quite long sometimes. And so counting the Omer seems to take on a much more relevant feeling this year than ever before. I will say, as all of us were preparing for Pesach this year and counting things that perhaps we haven't counted before, do we have enough matzah? Can we make our matzah last? Do we really have enough matzah? Do we have enough other things? Do we have enough parsley? Can we be creative and use things that we hadn't thought of using before? We had a Congregation Shearith Israel, a funeral, not at Congregation Shearith Israel, at Hills of Eternity, a funeral this week of a longtime congregant. And I know I saw earlier that Gail and Jill are on this call as well. We'll have the privilege and responsibility to say Kaddish for Art Rosenberg for the first time in just a few minutes. I want to say that I think this funeral was really a particularly beautiful funeral in some ways that I didn't expect. As our community has been navigating the completely unknown realm of how to live a Jewish life in this time of counting people and counting opportunities to gather, faced with doing a funeral and not, oh, Jill says more of the families on. I'm sorry, I didn't see Stephen or John, lots of the Rosenberg families on the service tonight. I'm really glad you're all here. I want to say that normally at a funeral, we count the eulogies or the speakers. There are a lot of details to take care of. And as soon as someone we love is buried, we count how many people we have to begin a Shiva Minyan and how to go to that place and where to go. But in this moment of being sheltering in place and counting our minutes differently, I found that the 10 of us who were standing together graveside just stood there, and we let the time be part of our own experience, not going on to the next place or the Shiva Minyan or even moving towards each other to hug, because we weren't able to do that. But instead, for the first time as a rabbi, the first time in my life, I stood at the grave until not only it was completely filled in, but in fact, until the grass had been put back on top and the earth was covered, and the grass pieces I knew would grow back together into one complete piece of grass. I have never had the privilege to stand before at a grave and to see the completion of the filling in of the grave. There was something so beautiful about being able to let the minutes go by as we stood there in silence instead of counting minutes to prepare to be at the next place. And so I think for the very first time on Wednesday morning, I got what the Omer is about. what the counting is about. The question that this time of the year asks us is, what do we count and what will we remember? When life returns to normal, we'll have to continue to ask these questions of ourselves, to ask what matters that we will count. How many steps do we take in a day? How many meals have we eaten at this time? How many loads of dishes do I feel like I keep doing? And how much time have we carved out to spend with our families? How much quiet time have we had? When life returns to normal, what will we remember of this time? And what will we take with us into the next time beyond the Omer, beyond this experience? Judaism has always been about counting the large and the small. We are invited every single week to count Shabbat and to count week by week as we head into the context of the year. The year is divided with Yizkor falling throughout the year as it does at this holiday, and we'll have the privilege to say Kaddish for all those whom we miss, who came before us tonight in just a few minutes. The year is divided into segments, into tiny, tiny segments for us. And yet Judaism also invites us to count the huge segments. We recount every year the Exodus that happened some thousands of years ago. And so we're part of a legacy which is huge and also tiny. And as the counting, I believe, that makes Judaism so powerful and so meaningful for all of us as we navigate a normally complicated and really busy world. So as I was thinking back just yesterday over the hundreds of generations that have observed a Seder which looked very much like the one that we all shared yesterday with slight differences, I was just wondering what people of generations past might imagine if they could see what we were all doing and how we were all gathering. Over the years, as we've added new symbols to a Seder plate, some people put an orange on a Seder plate to symbolize inclusion. This year, Rabbi Elliot Kukla asked people to put a spoon on a Seder plate to symbolize a different kind of inclusion of disabilities and different abilities. But as we've continued to add symbols to the Seder plate or add things, I started to wonder what the collective compilation of all the things that we've put together into a Seder might mean to us as a people and to our identities. I don't know how many of you have read the wonderful book, People of the Book. It's historical fiction. It's a novel based on the true story of the saving of the Sarajevo Haggadah, which is a Haggadah that had been traveling around the world and eventually was saved in very interesting circumstances in Sarajevo, and hence the name. But for those of you who have read the book, you'll remember back with me. If you haven't read it, I suggest you read it. You have some time on your hands now, probably. It's the story of the Sarajevo Haggadah divided up by little pieces of food or stains in the Haggadah, or spills, little grains of salt or something that people find. And the Geraldine Brooks, who wrote the book, writes this wonderful novel, fictional novel, about where each of these items which ended up in her Haggadah might have come from, linking together the generations of people who had used the Haggadah and who had told this same story all across the world, all across time. I was thinking a lot about this book yesterday as I wondered what of our generation, of this year, of this very strange time in our lives, might be recorded for Pesach this year and Pesach in the future. As I opened my computer screen this morning for the first meeting, I knew the answer. There on my screen was a teeny tiny little bit of charoset from yesterday. And I knew that that teeny tiny little bit of charoset smeared across my screen would never have gotten there any other year, because my computer wouldn't have been at our Seder any other year. But now there it was, a part of everything else that I was doing today, and maybe smushed into my keyboard just a little tiny bit reminiscent of what might be in the Sarajevo Haggadah, or all of the Haggadot that we find at our own Seder tables, the paper copies that have seen all kinds of spills and celebrations and family joy and loss. So as we enter into this time of counting the Omer, I ask us this question: what will we remember from this time? What will the counting of the Omer this year Teach us, how will we take it forward, and how is this year different from all other years? Shabbat Shalom.
Well, in just a moment, we will continue our service with Misha Berach, our prayer for healing of mind and body and spirit all together. And of course, we are acutely aware at this time of how many people in our world need healing, both those who are experiencing COVID-19, those who are on the front lines of fighting it in the medical professions, but also driving trucks and working in grocery stores and doing all the work that we need in order to keep society going. So we think of all of them, and we think of one another, all the ways that various people in our community may be hurting right now, economically or physically or spiritually. We think of all those things when we sing Misha Berach, and there will come a moment partway through the prayer where our accompanist, our wonderful music director, Jonathan, will play a little bit of music. And at that time, I encourage you to share the names with the people in your home of those whom you are thinking of for healing tonight. So please join us in Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Berach imotenu mikor habracha avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Even in times of difficulty, when we come together, it is our great privilege to remember all of the wonderful things that God has given us and continues to give us. We thank you, God, for giving us life and sustaining us and enabling us to reach this time of much joy, even amidst suffering and pain around the world. We'll join with Cantor Frommer in the words of Shechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. At this time in our service, we would normally turn to the mourner's Kaddish. But before we turn there, we're going to take a moment to include some prayers of Yizkor, of remembrances for loved ones who have departed. The holidays, the three festivals of Passover and Shavuot and Sukkot really are a time of heightened emotions of all kinds. We already included some of the Psalms for Hallel that kind of represent the heightened degree of our joy and celebration. And now we include prayers of Yizkor, which reflect the heightened levels of our loss and the pain that we feel when we think of those who are no longer with us. So traditionally, this would have been a separate service, as many of you are familiar with at Sheretz Israel. We've been holding Yizkor services on the festivals right before Shabbat. but due to the technological challenges, we were afraid that that would be a little bit cumbersome. And so we include them now, right before Kaddish. So we're going to turn now to the Yizkor service of our prayer poems for inspiration in times of loss. And we'll begin now with Psalm 121 on page 577, Esa Enai. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Esa enai el harim me'ayin yavo ezri. Esa enai el harim me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai ose shamayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai ose shamayim va'aretz. Try it with Jonathan on Lai Lai Lai. And we'll stay right here in the prayer book as we turn to perhaps the best known psalm of Yizkor and of comfort in all times, the 23rd Psalm. And I'll read it first in the English. Of course, I'm partial to the King James translation, but we have a more modern translation here on the page. I'll read the King James version for those who can't see the text on the screen, but of course you're welcome to read whichever version you want as we go through it together, and then I'll sing it to the Hebrew above. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We're going to continue with the Hebrew at the top of the page.
Adonai Ra'oi lo echsar, Binot sheyarbitzeni, al mei menuchot, ינעלני. נפשי ישובב, ינחני במעגלי צדק, ינחני במעגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפניי, שולחן נגד צורריי. תשענת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, כל ימי חיי. ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. אדוני רואי לא אחסר, אדוני רואי לא אחסר.
We're going to invite you now to recall memories of your loved ones who have departed. Jonathan will play some variations on the theme of Mizmor LaDavid, Psalm 23, and we'll come back together with those who sow after we've had some time for reflection.
who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap. Those who sow in tears reap in joy.
Now continue with Mourner's Kaddish. Some words from Rabbi Graf.
On this Shabbat, following our Seders, it is the first time that the Rosenberg family has the opportunity as a community, with their community, to be able to say Kaddish, because Art was buried on the morning when Pesach started. There was no Shiva. So tonight we remember Art Rosenberg for this first opportunity to say Kaddish as a community. May his memory be a blessing. For Shloshim, we remember Carol Cohen and Shirley Rochman, who died in the last 30 days. Perpetual memorials are Sidney Black, Charles Einbund, Mildred Molly Einbund, Ethel Goldberg, and Janet Lewis. If you are observing Shiva Shloshim, or the first year of mourning for someone in your own life, please say their name wherever you are. We'll collectively say Kaddish in just a moment. The yahrzeit anniversaries in our community are Dr. Oscar Klepper, Jean Cutler, Milton Cutler, Alan Diamond, Charles Ginsberg, Mildred Green, Nancy Hirsch, Evel Kogan, Helen Levine, Mark S. Massell, Marvin Mervis, Louis Newstein, Michael Newman, Isaac Perlman, Della Pipo, Irving Rubinson, William Schoenberg, Maurice Scriven, Alexander Chandrovsky, Linda Tolson, Michael Zelmar, Helen Eleanor Zier, and those loved ones whom you mention now. We'll join together with Cantor Frommer in Kaddish Yatom as one community supporting our mourners on page 598.
Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shmei Rabbah ve'alma divra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala ubizman kariv ve'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ulalmei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal Shmei dekudsha b'richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world. We say together, Amen.
Just a couple of announcements. I want to thank Jonathan for extremely beautiful music tonight. It's such a privilege to be able to hear this sound as we're together and feeling so distant. Sometimes it's the music that really weaves us together, and we're so grateful for what you bring to us tonight, last night, and really always. I can't wait to hear you playing for us in our beautiful sanctuary again. Tomorrow morning, if you are not Jew zoomed out or whatever we're calling this, Please join us for Torah study. Rabbi Phelps will be leading Torah study at 9:15 tomorrow morning. You are most welcome to come in your PJs, right, Rabbi? I think so.
100%.
100%. And please join Rabbi Phelps for Havdalah tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. You're welcome to stay in your PJs all day or get back in your PJs or put on new PJs, whatever you want. Please feel free to join us. Rabbi Phelps, Cantor Frommer, Gordon Gladstone, do we have any other announcements for these lovely people?
No, we're grateful
think
to
so.
Peter,
Yeah.
Peter Bonos for logistical support as always with setting up Zoom and everything.
Yeah. And stay tuned to your emails. You've got nothing else to do but read our emails. So.
That's right. All right. Well, we will conclude with Kiddush and Motzi and then with a closing song. So we will bring the words to Kiddush back up here. And let's see if we can, here we go. As soon as we share my screen again. Okay, there we go. All right. So I invite you, if you have a Kiddush cup, to raise it up as we join together, blessing God through the wine. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reheshit, ki hu yom techila l'mikrahei kodesh, zecher litziat mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava uvratzon, inchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. L'chaim. And if you have a challah, not
A
challah,
challah.
if you have
Ari-
matzah,
Ari
if you have
is
a challah, don't show it.
Yeah, right. Ari is holding up
There-
her very
yeah.
favorite new, thanks to Monica and Nancy, who introduced us to this deliciousness, chocolate covered matzah. And since I can't figure out how to bake challah that's edible, this is a great way for us to be able to hold up our bread, so to speak, for motzi.
All right, everyone looks like they're experts at making matzah here. There's a lot of terrific homemade matzah. Okay, ready? Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'te'avon. Right, and we will conclude with Adir Hu, our closing song. Here we go. All right. Okay, Jonathan, lead us in. Adir Hu, Yivnei Veto Bekarov, Bimhera, B'yameinu Bekarov, El b'nei Vetcha Bekarov, God of might, God of right, Thee we give all glory, Thine all praise in these days, as in ages hoary, when we hear year by year
freedom's wondrous story. Take it with Jonathan once.
Shabbat Shalom. Chag Sameach.